This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on AFR Talk.
And welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk, this Monday edition. Hope you had a terrific weekend. I had a great weekend myself until about 3:25 yesterday afternoon when the 49ers kicked off to the Indianapolis Colts, and my weekend went into the tank from there. So we got some serious problems there with the 49ers. Basic problem, all of their best receivers, all of their first cabin receivers, their top-tier receivers are injured. Vernon Davis, their all-world tight end, couldn't play yesterday. Anquan Bolden, their new acquisition, the only wide receiver they had, the only receiver they had that's had any experience. The total number of catches from last year by all of the 49ers on the roster were 14. There were only 14 passes that were caught last year by receivers that were actually on the 49er roster yesterday who actually caught passes last year as 49ers. So Colin Kaepernick got a lot of work cut out for him working with second and third and fourth string receivers. Now, Huffington Post Live. Huffington Post has got a little internet television network that they have. My wife just texted me and said, hey, like we care what happened to the 49ers, like we care what happens to Colin Kaepernick. So that's my wife showing oozing compassion for her husband, who this day is bruised and bleeding from what happened on the gridiron yesterday. Anyway, Huffington Post has got this little television network, and it turns out that I was the second story on their news recap of the day on Friday. Let's listen.
The American Family Association's Brian Fisher thinks that Hillary Clinton will be a pioneer in 2016 in more ways than one. Here he is on his weekly radio show, Focal Point, speaking about Clinton and her friendship with her longtime aide and the wife of former Congressman Anthony Weiner, Huma Abedin.
Jennifer Flowers is saying she's not surprised that it's been rumored that they've been having an affair. And that's been circulating for some time, that Hillary Clinton, Huma Abedin, they're involved in a lesbian relationship, which is why apparently they could care less what their husbands are doing on the down low. But here's what she said. This is a quote from an interview with the Daily Mail. I don't know Huma or the Wieners. I just know what Bill told me, and that was that he was aware that Hillary was bisexual and he didn't care. He should know. So the bottom line is that if Hillary Clinton becomes president in 2016, she will not only be our first female president, she could be our first lesbian president.
John, what do we even make of this? The fact that I just had to hear Brian Fisher use the term down low already makes me uncomfortable. But, you know, you can't make this stuff up.
No, you cannot make this stuff up. I think this is... I think the Clintons have been in public life, you know, or at least national politics for over 20 years. I've lost track of the amount of conspiracy theories, you know. Bill's doing this, Hillary's doing this. I think one or both of them may have killed Vince Foster, according to one conspiracy theory, because Hillary was having an affair with him. Now she's a lesbian having an affair with Huma. What is next? You know, this is just, you know, I don't think anyone can make anything of this. It's like this is another in a very, very long and entertaining list of Clinton conspiracy theories.
So they spent 2 minutes trying to come up with something on that bite, and they couldn't come up with anything. And you know, he's accusing me of making this up. This is a conspiracy theory. I wasn't the one that made this up. This was a quote from one of Bill Clinton's former paramours, one of his former lovers, and she was quoting him. So how a quote from a former Clinton lover, when she's quoting him, how that turns into a Clinton conspiracy theory is beyond me. Now, speaking of Hillary and Huma, she's apparently issued an edict to Huma Abedin. She's got to dump Anthony Weiner. If she wants to continue to be a part of the Hillary Clinton parade, she's going to have to dump Anthony Weiner. So apparently Huma's got a choice to make here about her political career or her marriage. It's kind of amazing how crass that is. I think, I think all of us would be sympathetic to Huma having a desire to escape that thing. That's just got to be a bizarro world there. But to force somebody to leave husband and family for a political career, I mean, that tells you something, I guess, about the mindset of liberal politicians. Now, we're going to talk about this healthcare business. We have Hans von Spakovsky. Hans von Spakovsky. I've got to practice saying his name every time I bring up, from the Heritage Foundation, talking about what will and will not happen in a shutdown. You've got to stay tuned for this at 1:30. I talked with you about this last week, but Hans von Spakovsky is going to walk us through in detail what does and does not happen in a government shutdown. And you would be surprised at how little of the government actually shuts down. Almost none of it shuts down. So all this bloviation, all these scare tactics about all these things are going to fall apart if we come to a government shutdown. It turns out that almost none of those things are true. And Hans will kind of work that through with us and show us the kind of legal and constitutional backing for all. That's at 1:30. Then at 2:30, we're going to have Andy McCarthy on. He writes for National Review. He's a former federal prosecutor. He's the one that put the blind shake behind bars for the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. But I'm going to bring Andy McCarthy on to talk about what's going on with the Senate Republicans. And we're going to go back to this spring where it turns out the Senate Republicans, all the ones that are getting flaky on us right now, they voted to defund Obamacare. All 45 of them back in the spring. And now they're waffling and wiggling. We'll talk to Andy McCarthy about that at 2:30. Also got Scott Lively on at 2:15. He's the one that's been charged with crimes against humanity for simply preaching a biblical message of homosexuality in Africa. He's also been the subject of an NBC news profile that badly distorted certain features of his story about his involvement with the law in Russia. We'll have him on at 2:15 to talk about all of that. So anyway, we've got this healthcare thing is heating up over there in the Senate. And here is what President Obama says. This is clip number 2. Now, there's a couple of things. I want you to hear President Obama, but I believe what he does in this clip is he diminishes the office of the presidency. Listen, and I'll tell you why.
When people tell you somehow government is irrelevant, no, everything we do has some connection to making sure that we collectively, as a democracy, are making some smart investments in the future. That's how it's always been. So, what Congress is doing right now is important. Unfortunately, right now the debate that's going on in Congress is not meeting the test of helping middle-class families. It's just, they're not focused on you. They're focused on politics. They're focused on trying to mess with me. They're not focused on you.
Well, that's President Obama, and the first thing he says there is some people are trying to say government's irrelevant. Nobody is saying that. It's a total straw man argument. We're not saying that government is irrelevant. We know biblically that government has a role in society. God established government to carry out certain purposes. The primary one is being an agent of justice. This keeps us from collapsing into anarchy and vigilante justice. We do not want people taking vengeance into their own hands. That's a recipe for total chaos. That's what you had prior to the flood. You had every man for himself, total chaos. Somebody disses you, you take it out on them. Lamech was the one that said, he wounds me, I'm going to kill him. And then his descendants come along, I'm going to do it 7 times, what Lamech did. So it was a recipe for total chaos. So God establishes government, gives it his delegated authority to be an agent of his wrath. We need some agency with acting with the authority of God to punish those who violate our rights, our unalienable rights to life, liberty, or property. That needs to be punished. That needs to be taken care of. And in God's economy, that is the role and responsibility of government. So there's nobody out there saying we should do away with government. I mean, no sane person, certainly no one that has a biblical worldview, says we got to get rid of government. We do not say that. We got to limit government to its biblical parameters, which is the issue of justice and national security, to protect our right to life, liberty, and property. That's it. This regulation business, none of that has any moral, ethical, biblical, or even constitutional justification. So anyway, that's a straw man that President Obama sets up there. But then you notice how he goes on and says, people say government's relevant. It's not. It's relevant to everything we do. Did you catch that? President Obama is saying, look, government is connected to every single thing we do. Government is all-encompassing. Government is all overarching. A government really, in Obama's worldview, is God. I mean, that's how we think about God. He has something to do. He's involved. He's connected to everything we do. Government is not. Government's not supposed to be. Government has no right to be. But in President Obama's world, government is all-encompassing and all relevant to every single thing we do. But then he says, look, they're trying to mess with me. A couple of things wrong with that. Just the language. That's not presidential language, is it? They're trying to mess with me. I mean, that sounds like street talk. That's not the president of the United States. That's not the leader of the free world. That's not the head of the greatest Republican democracy in the history of civilization. That's not how a guy of that kind of stature is supposed to talk. So when he talks like that, when he uses that kind of street lingo, to me, it diminishes the office of the presidency, and it's wrong. I mean, the Republicans that are concerned about health care, we could care less about who's behind it. It's not that we don't like him. It's his policies that we can't stand. That's what we don't like, because they are harmful to the American people. There's a couple of stories headlined on Drudge about this one hospital. I'm looking at it. Holy Cross Hospital Health Center, Aspen Hill, Maryland, bracing for more business. The center treats the uninsured and has been busy since it opened in 2012 with a waiting list of more than 400 people. Now, as a result of the U.S. Affordable Care Act, that's Obamacare, notice, and notice the media now, when you start running into problems with Obamacare, all of a sudden it's not Obamacare anymore. It's the Affordable Care Act. They want to get Obama's name out of this, get him as far away from this as they can. As a result of the Obamacare, it's mulling adding staff and hours in anticipation of next year's rush of newly insured patients, many with chronic medical conditions that have gone untreated for years. And they have no idea how they're going to manage that influx of all these newly insured people. It's going to overwhelm them. And remember, we're seeing stories every day about hospital facilities, clinics, hospital networks that are laying off people in droves. We got that call from a guy in Indiana. He works for a healthcare firm. They're laying off 800 people. How in the world, I ask you, if you're going to get 25 million new insured people, who is going to take care of them when hospitals are laying people off to comply with Obamacare? Focal Point AFR Talk.